Today, I'm talking to Steve Halpern, the first real estate agent on commission at Compass and the first real estate agent to lease a property for over 6 figures in New York City. Steve is best known for his ambitious approach to doing whatever it takes for his listings to stand out from the competition. This has led him to many record-breaking successes, often where others have failed. Today, we talk about how to create marketing that sells properties and earns clients. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast was created for real estate agents across the country to come together, sharing ideas to take your, their, and our business to the next level. All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf Podcast for top real estate agents tell how they do it. And today we have back on the show the infamous, one of the best marketers ever, not just in real estate, but ever, Steve Halpern with Compass, New York City.
Hello, how you doing?
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Nice
good
to see you again.
Back.
Yeah.
So let's to get it going, everybody kind of to put it in a frame of reference of why they want to hear what you have to say about marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Besides being the first commissioned agent with Compass and being the first, and really that means you're a visionary. You see things differently and your marketing is different, but it's still, a lot of people, realtors do unique marketing and it's often not good marketing. You do unique marketing that's very special and good. And one of the things that you did with your marketing was the first 6-figure lease in New York City.
We did the first $100,000 a month rental in New York. Yeah, exactly. And it's now been leased for 5 years and still my biggest commission to date, actually, on a rental. So
that's awesome.
And it's really because we did a commercial lease and you collect on a commercial lease annually. So every year I basically get a paycheck off of that deal. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal. So
no, not at all.
Tell us, we were talking a little bit before the show. Well, what makes good marketing and how do you create it? Okay.
Well, so, I think good marketing for different people is going to be different things, of course. I think, I think it would be more about the way I would, I can talk about sort of the way I approach things. And I think, to me, there's always a couple of angles that especially agents can take. I think
I'm going to stop you. Don't lose your thought, but I'm going to stop you because I want to make the relevance. Before we talk about how you create it, what is it that makes it good because it works? What is it that makes it good?
Sure.
Like quality, and what is it that makes it create results, or should you stay on path?
Sure. Perfect. So, well, the first thing is marketing is all about creating a connection with the audience, right? So good marketing somehow really connects with your audience and therefore creates some type of emotional connection. I mean, we're selling homes. We're giving people the vision of what it's like to see themselves in a property. So the most important thing that we do is find a way to connect with them directly, to make them actually have an emotional response to something before they ever walk in the door, or when they walk in the door, or after they leave. So my approach is always, I think first things first, at the sheer basic level, is people shop for real estate the same way they date now, right? So they take 12 seconds, 5 seconds, 3 seconds on an app, and the minute they see something they don't like, they're on to the next one, right? So the first and most important thing that we do is we make sure that whatever we're presenting first is something that stops them and makes them want to go a little bit deeper. So one of my focuses is what I call a vehicle for communicating that emotion. So what that means to me is when I know what my competitors are doing, we're going to do something different to make somebody go in a little bit deeper. And depending on the property, we will find that unique element, right? So everything has something that defines it. And I think if you're savvy enough in your skills as a real estate agent, you'll know what's going to sell the property, right? Whether it's the amazing pool, or the view or the price or just there's so many different things that can happen there, right? So you start to hone down on what is actually going to be effective in getting people to feel that connection. That's why staging is so important, and that's why doing editorial style photography and doing these really beautiful images are, because we're trying to get people to stop and connect with it, right? So
exactly, and it's getting more and more competitive. Agents, right. I mean, I'm embarrassed. How long have you been a real estate agent?
10 years.
Well, 17.
Yeah.
16, I don't know.
Well, don't make that face. That's awesome. Come on.
Right.
If I would have started 17 years
but then
ago.
it's just starting to be like, now I'm even just old. I mean, that's ridiculous. But I can remember when we would take our little phones, and not even camera phones, because the camera phones are actually good now. I mean, and take our own pictures. Like, how embarrassing. I can't believe I even participated in that.
Well,
anyway,
I mean,
but
again, that's what it was.
Talking about. I love what you said about, but you talked about finding something special about the property. I think it starts with that. Is you find something unique and you find how to go deeper from that perspective. Is that right?
Yeah. So what I actually do, and it's kind of the way I communicate it with the clients when I'm sitting with them in the pitch, is I explain that we're presenting a product, and when you're presenting a product, there's like a branding that happens, right? So, you have to create a clear communication as to what you're selling, right? So, I think most real estate agents have one certain quick playbook, and that's what they run every time. And I think that's where they end up finding themselves losing out to creative competitors, or also some properties take more than that and take something unique and something different. And I remember a perfect example is I think we've actually talked about this. This house we sold on the Upper East Side for, it was an $8.3 million deal that we there were 120 houses on the market at the time when we were launching the property, right? About 10% of them were selling annually. So that's about 12 houses a year were selling in the marketplace. They were all generally on the market between 9 months and 12 months before they were looking at offers. And most of them went through multiple agents, etc. And I had this gorgeous house that we were selling. And the problem is the facade of the house was very vanilla. White, white stone on the front. And I knew the most important thing that I would do was to do something special with that facade photo to get people to stop. So we created this image with balloons that were flying up, like a kid let them go. And it was a little family on the stoop, and they let the balloons go. And we actually only let about 6 balloons go, but composited so it looked like a whole row of balloons. And right away, people started calling it the balloon house. We posted it on social.
Wow.
People went crazy on my social. A lot of the bigger avenues here started reposting it, right? So by the time we launched the property, which was like 3 days later, and I started calling around to brokers to let them know about the house, everybody was calling it the balloon house. So, and we sold it in 4.5 months. We had multiple offers, and we ended up doing a gorgeous video for it. We did all these things, and they all worked. I also think a lot of real estate agents don't have a plan for the longevity of the listing, which is, I think, a big challenge that most people go through, is they put a few photos up and they sit back and wait for people to come to them. And you have to have ways to refresh that property, and not just by price drops. I think that's not, go ahead,
Let's
please.
talk about refreshing the property and the marketing. But before that, on the balloon house, because we heard about what wasn't going to sell it. What did you figure out was going to sell that? What was I always call it the tagline. What's the property's tagline? But what was the thing?
Well, so what we did was, it was in an area that was only families. It was like the most prime location for private schools in the area. So the interesting thing is, we knew who the demographic was. So in order, if you can quantify and qualify who your demographic is, it's much easier to create a marketing plan that goes directly to them, right? So we knew this was going to be families. So what we did is we did a video with a family in the house, a really creative one. It was called Space to Be You. And it got, I mean, we won advertising awards for the video.
Wow.
And we actually, the irony behind it is the buyer came without a broker, direct through, they found it on a Facebook ad that I targeted to all the private schools in the area.
Right. Yeah.
So it was, you know, very targeted approach, knowing that how we were going to communicate to the audience, that made an emotional connection, and went direct to the consumer in a way that was very different than the way the rest of the competition was showcasing. So, and that house got so much attention on it. I actually just recently got a call from another owner a block away who had their property on the market for 6 months with another broker, and now we're talking about me taking over that listing. And
well, I saw it go in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, she called me and I started to, you know, I was like, did you see my marketing plan on it? Did you see all that stuff? And she's like, oh, I saw it all. And she was basically, without me having to say anything, she was dictating exactly how I accomplished it without even having to say a word, because
well, that's, you know, you've done your job as a marketer and as a salesperson or a consultant when someone, when they're telling you what you would have told them. That you need to communicate things in a way, whether you're negotiating or winning business or marketing, that your audience is actually telling you you should have already portrayed to them, not have to tell them.
I mean, you know, sometimes people don't, you know, not everybody understands the way these things happen, or understands how marketing works, or how the new marketing works, or the agents that they've experienced in the past were older and didn't have these new ways of presenting properties. Those are all fine. And I'm not saying that those agents can't sell properties. They can do it. They can do fine. But, you know,
who wants to do fine, Steve?
No,
I mean,
not anymore. And you can't.
Well, so I'm going to back up, and not to interrupt you, but to keep you on track to all the questions I feel people asking as you speak.
You can shut me up anytime. It's okay. I talk
Number
too much.
number one, well, you can shut me up anytime too, by the way. But on the attention, you talked about it getting attention. It reminds me of Seth Godin. I quote him a lot on the show, but his book, The Purple Cow, I quote that a lot, is everybody can get in front of everybody today. The key's not everybody getting in front of everybody. It's getting attention. And you didn't just get attention. That house would not have been a good house to put naked people around jumping in a pool. Wouldn't have sold the house.
No.
Would have got attention, but not for the right audience. You had the right kind of attention for the right audience.
Well, that's why you have to be conscious of having, well, again, there's a difference between someone who is using what I would say sort of standardized storylines or things that they're used to doing. Again, not everybody's going to be creative with all these big ideas. That happens to be something that I am. It's kind of what I live for. It's what I enjoy doing. It's probably the reason I love doing what I do, is because I get the opportunity to do those things. Other people have their other strong suits, but surround yourself with someone who's creative, or, you know, find your avenues of communicating what you do. But there's nothing better than sitting with a seller or an owner and being able to say, like, there is nobody who can do what I do. And I believe strongly that there is nobody can do what I do. Others can do like I do, but they will be different. So, and I have enough experience to go in there confidently and say, really, you know, if you need a way to expand your market and make it bigger, you really do need me. You know, will it sell? Absolutely. Will it automatically sell? No, it's still going to be a lot of hard work, but, you know,
it might.
And most of the time it does. The same seller that I was talking about, that we talked about, that other house, I met with her and her husband, and the husband was a financial guy. So much tougher, much more statistics driven, all of these things. And he's like, what are your stats? What are your this? What are your that? And he was like, how many houses did you not sell last year that you had? And I was like, none. And I was like, one came off the market, but then we got a deal on it. And I was like, everybody was complaining about what a terrible year it was. So the other result of doing really good marketing is, if you're communicating what you're doing to your seller, when it comes time to discuss other strategies like doing price drops, you're able to go and sit with them and say, hey, I did look at all the stuff I did. Look at the response that I've gotten. Look at how people responded to this. Look how much attention I've gotten on this. If this hasn't sold, what's the
What's
variable?
left? Like
What's left?
truly what's left.
Truly, you know,
So
I'm open
that
to
brings
other
me to,
ideas. Yeah, I'm open to other ideas from a seller. If someone has an idea that I think could work, let's
yeah.
try it. But, you know, you have to do your part as a seller as well.
So that goes on the topic earlier. You were talking about a lot of agents kind of come in. It's okay. You take your pictures, you get the house ready, you put it in. It just is what it is. But there's the creativity in the launch, but then there's also the
Right.
long-term vision for the marketing if it doesn't sell
Right.
now. How do you plan that? How do you prepare that? How do you know how to do that?
Well, first of all, to me, the way you accomplish that, the first thing you have to do is you have to, when you establish your rapport and your relationship with the client, you're setting a tone that it's a team effort, right? So, and it'll make sense when I walk through it, because to me, when you have a deep relationship with a client that you can actually communicate with them, I know for me, that drives me to consistently be pushing. When you have a client that is pushing against you constantly, right? To me, that doesn't motivate results. That motivates, you know, you kind of want to, poor communication, and you run away, and you're like, oh no, this person's calling me, I don't want to talk to them. And then you get into a mode where you're almost making excuses, and you're, you know, like, and you don't have any excuses to make. Ultimately, the market works the way the market works, right? So to me, that's step one. Step one is creating a collaborative communication between the client and yourself. What that then allows for is real communication. You can discuss pricing, you can talk about market value, you can talk about market shifts, you can talk about all these things, and then it shifts everything away from that to, okay, what are the strategies in order to sell? So first things first is, I don't believe it's important, the best thing for you to just, you know, excuse my French, but blow your load on the first day. You know, you don't put everything out there right away, right? You want to get attention, you use some of that, and then you have things to happen down the line, whether it's
more surprises down the line.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you built a vehicle and a brand around something, you could always go back to that and come up with new ways. So I've been known to photograph, launch, rephotograph different times of the day. I've been known to do time-lapse video, other types of videos, collaborations with artists, furniture people, these different types of things that you could do. You know, any type of event you're throwing in the house or the property, if you're doing something special, unique with another brand, that's more marketing, right? All of these things can be used in order to do it. And
there's always something else, and to engage an audience.
Yeah, you know, and sometimes it sells in a week.
What if you?
Sometimes it sells in a week, and you don't have to do those other things. And you know, if you would have thrown everything up at the front, you would have spent all your money in the front. You know, I just launched a property this week
with nothing left.
Yeah, I just launched a property this week with four photos, and we have 3 offers already. And I had a whole plan to move forward, and I don't have to do it, right? Great, I could save those ideas.
Probably
for
kind
other.
of disappointed though. I mean,
I'm not disappointed. It's not, you know, I'm happy. The sellers are happy. Again, I can move on, and you know,
well,
it used to be like every deal in
to
New York was like that was really fast. The last 2 years have been much longer process. So when it does happen, you get excited. So.
Yeah. So what if you've got some properties, it's obvious, like the one with the white house and the balloon house, the buyer of that house is pretty obvious. What if you've got a house where you're not sure who the buyer might be, or how do you handle that?
Well, I mean, you know, again, the good thing about, luckily for me, and I think a lot of people who are a little bit more creative, who understand that, who have enough experience here, is you may not know the demographic, but you do know what the benefits of those properties are, right? So there are, you know, let's say it's a newly renovated house in an area that may not be the perfect prime area for a particular demographic. you have to, what's going to sell, what's going to sell that property because of what you find as the things that are the hooks in that house,
So you sell what's going to sell it.
Yeah, that's, again, I used to, when I started in the business, doing small rentals, right? Just trying to like make a living, right? And I would lose a deal, like, it's a cutthroat. People would run away all the time. You wouldn't get paid, right? And what I used to do is whenever I would have these moments, I would go out and just like go and look at a bunch of apartments. And my tactic was, when I walk in, I look around to find out what is going to be the thing that moves the apartment. What is the thing here? If I were going to choose one thing, what's the hook, right?
Yeah.
And every property has at least one, if not many, right? So sometimes it's the price, sometimes it's the view, sometimes it's the windows, sometimes it's the style, sometimes it's whatever, right? So if you can get in that mindset as you're looking at properties, I just find it fun. So when it's fun for me.
So about that mindset, we started talking a little bit earlier before we actually defined what good marketing was, about when you're creating good marketing, you look at things, you always kind of reframe reality or look at things through different lens. And how do you, obviously you've just got a wiring that empowers you to do that, but I'm sure you've kind of discovered ways to do that. What would you say for the normal people like us to do that?
Normal people. I don't know if that's something that I would say about normal, but I think
don't say that about me. Actually, I said it about myself, but
I don't. Yeah, I think
none of us is normal.
Special is a word that I would use, not normal. So
I like that. That could be good or bad too, though. But anyway,
I know that. Okay, so first of all, I think that's something that could be beneficial for people to learn how to do, whether it's about real estate or their lives, or or really anything, relationships, things that are going on. There's a way to look at anything and find some type of positive in it, and literally that shift of that, the way you view something, could be the difference of being happy every day and sad every day, right? So so that ties into everything. Again,
how you see a house could be what's a detriment could be a benefit if you spin it, or if you just change the angle. So give us an example of when you've done that.
Well, let me think about see if I can come up with a specific
like a
example.
House in a hole.
Yeah, I think renovate projects that apartments that need renovations. I think I actually had a home that clients of mine. I didn't actually sell it to them, but I met them right after they bought it. They bought really well, and then they found out that that it actually was on a lot of land that had a lot of buildable rights, so a developer could come in and right. And the big challenge we had was, it was this beautiful house, but really the value was higher towards those developers. So everybody would walk in there being like, oh my God, I'm going to knock this house down, this gorgeous house. So the way I was able to change that perception was by we created a beautiful, like a virtual reality rendering of the home, the condo that could be built. And we were able to, I would literally have with my iPad in front of the house, we'd stand in the front yard and I'd pull up the thing, and it would be as if you couldn't see the house, and suddenly there was a building there. So I was able to change this, oh my God, we're going to knock down that beautiful house, to actually creating the vision of what they could build there. And we sold it.
That's an interesting point, because what you just said makes me think about, I don't know why I've been quoting Tony Robbins so much lately, because it's kind of cliche.
Because it's me, I put you on.
Was that it? That's right, you did. What was the quote you said about, but Tony Robbins talks about people can only focus on so many things at a time, and they kind of go down rabbit holes. So you just get them out, you just you get them off of one rabbit hole and put them on the other, which is the actual value of the house is this.
Right.
Not get out of that. Focus on this, and you just take them there.
Right. So I mean, so that's that was,
and reframes it.
Yeah, that was one way. I mean, I feel like I remember probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I was out with a client, and we walked into this apartment that was like, it was super dark, like there was no sunlight whatsoever, right? And we're sitting in there, and we walk in the house, he looks around, he goes, I'm like seeing him kind of maneuver back and forth, and I'm like, does he like actually like this place? Because like I would like, right?
Right.
He starts closing all the shades, right? He closes the
Yeah.
door, he closes everything, and we're like literally myself, the listing agent, him in a pitch black house, right? And I'm
Right.
like, what the hell is going on? Like, and he
What's this
goes,
guy doing?
and he's like, this would be perfect for my projector. And I was like, what? Oh yeah, it would be great. It would be perfect for your projector. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. So there we just checked off one of the key things that most people would want. And he actually applied for that apartment. It was a rental, but he,
Wow.
you know, but
Well, and
like,
that's an example. That's an example of you don't always know what they want. Like when people, I don't know about you, in properties, some of the best lessons I've gotten are from, Steve and Shane in Aspen. And
great.
then
I love Steve.
Shin Schultz. What's that?
I love Steve.
And then Shin Schultz, he's a Sotheby's agent in Malibu, but they both talk about when you show houses, shut up.
Yeah.
Like they don't need you to talk. They don't need you to tell them where the bathrooms and the fireplaces are and the dining room is. They need you to let them experience. I mean, Steven's really big.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't even, like I greet them at the door and then I let them come through the front door and experience it.
Yep.
Because they know what's important to them and what they're looking for, not us. Once we get them in there, but once they get there, let them feel it, let them experience it. But go ahead.
No, I think so. What I like to do is I let them enter quietly, let them do their thing, and then I give 3 or 4 facts about the property, and then I just say, make yourself at home, and I'm here if you have any questions. Some people want more guidance, and you have to be able to sense that, and I'm sure he is as well. But like,
yeah,
you're not going to talk somebody into buying something. If they don't love it and they don't have an emotional, it all goes back to the same conversation that we started with. Marketing is to create an emotional connection. It's the same thing in selling a home. Someone has to have an emotional connection with it.
And you need to allow that emotional connection.
You can't allow your insecurities of needing to overtalk and be present get in the way of them having an experience that's going to make them comfortable.
It's about them. It's never about you anyway.
No, it's I again, and sometimes I'm known to talk too much, but I think like I find myself now just being like I'm here, and if you want me to walk you through, let me know, and I'm happy to show you every cool thing that's in the property. But people want to feel it. All
right. I've always got my final 3, but we're gonna go through them. I know more slowly, and I'm dying to ask them of you because I've done it before, but I'm sure it changes because this is going to be episode 1. I think it's 157 or 58. And the last episode we did was 115.
Yeah. So, wow. You've been hard at work.
Once a week, every week. And the last one, everybody, the last 2 are we did 109, how risk is the real opportunity. And then episode 115, how to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
So episode, I don't know the name or the episode number right now, but I think it's 157. What book has most impacted your life or career at the moment anyway, since you've been asked this question before?
Sure. And it's changed every time. I think there's something newish that's, it's been a unique time in my life. So I have been less driven towards like business books, a little bit more like mindset in mind and like literal soul stuff. So, the recent gem I've actually just finishing now is a book called The Untethered Soul.
Oh, no, you didn't. I love that book.
Oh my God. It's really pretty special. No,
go ahead. Yeah. I know too much about the book, so keep going because I'll steal the show.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's, I think, a lot of it comes back to I've been doing a lot of like wellness driven stuff and trying to learn more about finding happiness and stuff like that. Go ahead.
Now, what's your big takeaway from that book?
I mean, the big thing is that like that voice the voice in your head is not you, and that you have to separate yourself from making that be, because most people feel that voice that's always constantly talking to us as the dialogue that drives them, right? So
well, and they can't turn it off either. So put it or to change the dialogue.
What I've learned is you can train it, by filling it with information that is positive, ultimately it will change the tone. And it goes back to what we were just talking about, the reframing of items. If you start creating that as it starts as almost like a fun game that you play with yourself. How could I reframe what's happening right now into a way that's positive? And then when you start having that as sort of the core, and you can quiet down that voice in your head, ultimately you're just gonna feeling more present and feeling more happy and more like in your soul, like without constantly questioning everything that's going on. You're just, I don't know, it's just a little bit more of of freedom and happiness. What I love about the way that book was written and the way it was communicated is it was so well it just was so well communicated in the different formats that it just made it something that you know, because even while you're reading it, it's still going. You know, you're like, wow, is
exactly.
Is he telling me to shut up? Is he telling me to shut up? But I think it's
you get really conscious of it.
Yeah. So
did you read his book? No, go ahead.
No, that's the only book of his I read, but I plan on it.
You got to read. So The Surrender Experiment. Yeah. Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
It's even better. I actually read that one first.
Yeah, I know a bunch of people that have.
That one's good.
Well, again, I think the idea of facing fears and just jumping in head first, and you know, just letting life happen and saying yes to things and all of those things. I think like that's been a journey I've been on, and I think a lot of people in our place, we get to these journeys at certain points in our life because the paths that we've run so far have just not really been. We just don't find the reward that we want from it. So you know, another book that I just, again, I've read it a couple times. 5 Love Languages.
You're only supposed to give me one.
Okay,
come on. I'm kidding. I want to say something about the Untethered Soul, but do not forget your book. Untethered Soul on the business side. I mean, because I think like being a real estate agent is kind of its own spiritual journey.
Sure.
It's very emotionally challenging. Like, I like to think I'm a bigger person than it would actually emotionally challenge me, but that would be a lie. But that Untethered Soul gets you in that place. Like, don't let this stuff get to you. At some point, you're just here to serve and help people. It's not personal. It was just something we said earlier.
It's not. And I think at a certain point in everyone's, real estate career, it comes and goes too. I think every year we have it. Sometimes we feel a certain way. Sometimes we feel a different way. I think, it's going back to why we do it and really ultimately being conscious of sort of what we want to achieve in our life and how we want to feel. And like, I don't know, like I get a lot less stressed out about transactions now. But that's because I'm pretty clear about what I do it for. And it was a journey last year that I went through that was, I had been, and you and I have kind of touched on this before. It was always numbers. How do we reach this goal? And how do we reach this goal? And how much money can I make? And how much this and how much that? And the reality of that is that stuff doesn't drive me. What drives me is the people I get to meet and the relationships that I get to, and that's with other agents, and that's with people who are selling, people who are buying, people I don't know. So last year, towards the middle of the year, I went through a restructuring of the team, and it led me to a place where I was like, okay, well, what am I doing this for? And I realized that when I have a good relationship with somebody, I will give them everything in the world. And so I'm much more focused on that, and the result of that has been exceptional in regards to to how much success I'm finding, because not only is it financially successful, but it's also much more rewarding. And you end up with a deeper relationship with somebody that ultimately will create more referral business. And I don't know, it's just warmer. It feels better.
It's coming from a better place. Well, I think if there's any purpose in life, it's to help other people.
Mm-hmm. I think we lose sight of that when we're on the come up. I think, and we maybe lose sight of that when we have life stuff that's happening that's driving us in the other direction. But I think, to me, most successful real estate agents, or the ones that I think are successful, or the ones that are around me and I like being with, it's kind of their drivers, like,
Absolutely.
and if
And the
that's your
most successful
motivation,
ones, it
yeah.
usually is. Not always, but usually it is. And the happiest ones for sure.
Yeah, and there's nothing more
Um,
motivating than that making a lot of money doing it in a way where
exactly.
everyone feels good.
What was that other book?
So 5 love languages was I was talking about.
Oh, whatever. Okay.
What?
That's actually, I've forgotten it. I need to read it because it's relevant to how
It's
people want to be communicated with. I keep going back to business. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm just thinking about who we're talking to. But either way, but no, remind us and me, what are the 5 love languages?
sure. Well, so first of all, there are the love languages could be communicated professionally too. I'm going to give you the love languages, but there are ways to interpret this.
Yeah.
The general understanding is that people receive things the way that they receive things, specifically love and positive energy. So number one is words of affirmation. So it's saying something nice about somebody, or telling somebody that you care for them, or that you got their back, or just through words, right? Through actual
Mm.
verbal communication. Number two is acts of service. So by doing things for people, right? So doing more things around the house or those kinds of things. Three is gifts, right? So let's say
Mm.
some people just love it when the amount of clients that the response I got from them after I sent them a handwritten note, like that's a
Yeah.
gift, because you went outside of yourself to give them, something that they didn't, necessarily think that they were going to get.
Yeah.
Four is touch, which is a little funny when it comes to if we're looking at
But
it in a
even in
professional manner.
business, some people touch more, or they'll touch you. There's even a certain way to touch. If you touch up here, it might be considered too domineering. And if it's down here, it's
Yeah,
more.
sure. And it's also a matter of reading the languge and
And how you shake
reading,
someone's hand says a lot.
of course. And then the fifth one is quality time. So I think if we're going to dictate it towards business, I think the big communication is when you're with somebody and you're actually spending time with them, get off your damn phone and be present with them. Because nothing creates a better feeling than them understanding that, they know you're busy. They
Yeah.
know you have 100 things happening in a moment, but you took the time to not be stuck staring at a device or doing something else or taking a phone call, or, it's rewarding because they know that you're present.
Well, that and something else, I'm embarrassed to admit it took me so long to learn, but with clients, I can remember before I read my favorite book, Never Split the Difference. I mean, it's
Right.
only been my favorite book for like 100 episodes, because like episodes 30 to 50 or something like that, it was recommended.
But now
And
you're
of
like
course,
buddy with the whole crew.
oh,
So,
oh yeah, I am. I mean, that was I read that book and I said, I'm going to be friends with Chris Voss. I will be friends with him, and I am. He's
yes,
amazing. And I don't say that about many people. I mean,
he is
like,
amazing. So,
I don't get on a mission, but I was on a mission achieved anyway, but that's for another interview. But about that interview is it taught me kind of indirectly the importance of what you're talking about. I can remember I used to just I would just be polite and just get through the deal, and people would
right.
talk to me and I would think, this is not relevant. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. I need to go.
Right.
And then when I read that, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing because everybody's probably going, duh, but it really made me realize the importance of how I listened, what I said. And when someone got on the phone and started talking and unloading, it's because they need that. And my job as an agent is to listen and understand that, because that, number one, saves time in the long run, because I've gotten a good picture of where they are, because a lot of our job is just handling people's emotions and keeping them out of
Yep.
their own way.
Yep.
And number two, when the next thing happens, or stopping either when the next thing happens, knowing how to handle it, or stopping something bad that could have happened,
Right.
because you sat there and were able to have a productive
Yep.
conversation. Because as much as I love to talk, listening is powerful, and listening actively. Back to time, that's the time and the gift that you're giving people.
I would also say that half of our job is sometimes finding unique solutions, and the
Exactly.
best way to do that is to actually understand what are the real issues, right? Like, someone may be fighting about something that seems to be very clear and very specific, but in actuality, their reasoning for it is different than what you would guess. And so if you understand that, you can ultimately, a lot of times you can get creative with the way you produce a solution. And I find that that's also an
Yeah.
art that some agents have and some don't. When you're
Yeah.
co-broking with another agent, and they're just no to everything, as opposed to saying, like,
What if?
let's let's find this,
Right.
there's something here. Like, everybody's still on board and wants to do this.
Yeah.
There is an issue, but let's craft something that's unique and interesting. And the only way you're going to find that out is actually by getting to listen to people. I also remember in the beginning of my career, actually a couple years ago,
Yeah.
I used to be like on email, like it was my thing to like answer within 30 seconds, right? It was like, literally, there was not a moment that I wasn't looking at my email. And then I went away on vacation, right? And I was doing the same thing to start. Uh, and eventually I got frustrated and I said, screw it. And I put my phone in the safe. We locked it away, went away for the day, right?
Yeah.
And came back probably 10 hours later and checked in. And the amount of things that started at a 10, and by the time 8 or 10 hours had gone by, were either solved or were way less important at the time, when because people had a moment to figure it out themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It
The
wasn't
amount
really,
of
they didn't really need you.
they didn't need me, and if they did, 8 or 10 hours wasn't gonna, there was nothing that was that urgent that it wasn't,
Exactly. There's always texting. Now, there's the things when they do email you and it is that urgent, because I'm one that I'm on email, but I'm not
right,
watching it like that.
right,
I've got other people doing that and I'm on my
yeah,
phone. But
right,
my favorite's when it is urgent and they email and they don't call or text. You're like, are you kidding me? It could have been that urgent because you would have called or texted me. But now
yeah.
I'm kind of being funny and kind of,
No, but it's true though. But I
right.
think it's true though. So,
Yeah.
so I feel like, we have so many things pulling at us all the time that sheer presence feels different to people. So if you could be there, people respond to it
Back to untethered
completely.
soul.
Yeah, and
That's
even to
about being
yourself.
present and
And
being centered,
yeah,
and the power in that. There's power in force, but the book Power versus Force.
yeah.
I think Dennis
I was
Hawkins.
crazy. I couldn't get through it.
You just gotta listen, and you just, because the beginning's too weird, and sometimes like, really, this
It's
is
so
dumb.
like, I
But the
was like, I tried.
concepts, because
Yeah,
force is checking your email every 15 minutes because you're going to just push it through and make it happen, and power
yeah.
is being present and centered, and there's a greater power in that. And if you look at successful people, that's typically the same that you see everyone.
I had a
But
coach, I had a real estate coach that suggested that I read that book, and
really,
she's like, listen, it's really really hard. It took me a long time, but I stuck with it, and now it's really made a big
it
impact
does.
on. And then I was like, picked it up, and I was like, super technical. Like, I was
It's
like,
almost silly. The beginning, the middle of it, I remember being the
yeah,
best
and you say it
part,
like that because it's that big. It's like
right? Because
it's
it's
like
so, well, and
800
I never,
pages or something.
audibles.
I know,
I don't
true.
even know if I think I got through the whole thing though. But it makes you think about things like, am I doing this from, if you make a decision, is this coming from power or force, or make sure to come from power or come from that present,
Right,
all that.
right, it's true.
All right, next question. If there's one, and I'm going to reframe this question from how I have in the past.
Okay.
If there's one thing that you have found most impactful in your business, now it could be technology, it could be a format of marketing, it could be a way of communicating, it could be anything that you do or implement that's most powerful in you being successful, and your definition of successful in being a real estate agent.
I'll throw something out, and if I'm not on pace there,
There's
you
no
can
wrong answer.
got it. Uh, I think the thing that's made me most successful is just on a constant grind to meet more people. Uh, just I find, like, I have a real issue. Like, prospecting is not really like something that I'm prone towards in the traditional format, like where it's like, you know, follow up. I follow up when I need to follow up, but it
Right?
doesn't come natural to me. But
Yeah.
what really does come natural to me is when I meet somebody, creating a nice connection, and then therefore flowing into potential of new business. I have found when I don't do that, one, I'm less happy. Two, my business hurts because I don't have enough of a pipeline of business.
Isn't
So
that interesting? Yeah.
yes, so
I'm
I
exactly the
think
same. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I think we would hang out all the time if we were in the same place. Uh, but that's what I've learned. So I think that's a really important thing.
Well, and that's what I love about that is I think there's, and I say this often, but there's kind of this approach to our business, a traditional, like you've got to just grind people and call them all day and cold call to get business. And I find nothing could be further from the truth, because my best, most productive, most happy, most profitable clients are the ones that by going out and engaging and meeting people and developing friendships and relationships and going out with what can I give you, and that gives back, that provides the most, that provides the best. Now I do have a strategy to it, but I
Right.
approach it in that way. So to lead into that question, how do you just meet people, or do you ever go, okay, this is my ideal client, so these are the people, because I like these kinds of people, so this is how I'm going to make sure I continue to engage with these people that will naturally bring the
Sure.
outflow of business? And
Well,
what is
I
that?
mean, for me, luckily enough, is like I'm the creative guy, right? So I have enough content out there, enough, the good thing with that is that if someone looks me up and they like what they see,
Isn't that fun?
most of the time we're going to get along, because
Yeah.
they're it's something that I considered very early on, and when I learned it really early on when I was starting with my first clients. And the thing that worked was just being personal and like letting them understand who I am and finding out about my life and connecting with them on that level. So I think there's something really special about being who you are, and that's kind of my approach. My approach is like, you know, again, you got to maneuver, you got to have strategies. You're in business. If
Yeah.
if you're not moving the conversation along to a place where it actually showcases in a way that shows works into a place where you're creating opportunities, then that's not going to work. But
And you can
people
do
like,
that authentically,
of
unless you
course,
don't
because you
realize that
care
we're
about it.
right. I think we've got to understand that what we do is incredibly valuable and helpful to
Sure.
people. And my first few years of the business, I actually didn't realize that. It's like, in
Yeah,
this for the
because
money.
you weren't confident enough in your skills to understand the benefit that you offered people. So like when you get to a level, when you have this thing and you have the background and the support of all the successes, and you understand why, you know, it's not it's not I just got lucky. It's that
Mm-hmm.
like the way I've developed a system and a plan and use my knowledge and brain and creativity or relationships. Everybody has different hooks, but
Yeah.
once you get to that place, then it's no longer about faking it till you make it kind of stuff. It's, like, so if I start having a real estate conversation with somebody I met at a party or in an event or in the gym or anywhere, and we start having a real estate conversation, I know how to have that conversation because
Exactly.
it's part of me at this point. So,
Yeah.
and it goes back to being real the same way. But I think that for me has been, just
Yeah.
being real has been another answer to that same question is just be real. Don't BS people. Like,
Exactly. They don't say that.
just
Don't BS
smell it.
people.
Yeah,
They
don't
do
BS
smell
people.
it.
They smell it.
Yes, they totally do. I
And
think,
also, if you don't like somebody, I turn clients down all the time.
yeah,
Like I don't have space in my life for people who I'm going to have to fight with constantly. Like, I know the skills that I have, and if you don't feel lucky enough to have me, and it's not communicated now, and not in a way that makes me this pompous, but it's like, if you don't get it, and
it's
you're going to be
okay.
that person that's going to be like fighting with me, or saying that I'm not doing the job that I need to do or something like that when I'm committed to doing it, I'd rather I'd rather, go swimming.
Right. Or be with my kids, or be with
Yeah.
people or be with a client that's going to actually make me money and get me more
Or
clients.
or sit in the park and,
However you want to look at it.
or sit in the park and stare at the birds. I mean, again,
That's Eckhart Tolle now, in The Power of Now. That's a whole
yeah.
nother book. But I think, something that what you're saying makes me think of is asking yourself, especially when you're less experienced, to your point about the content, I remember it's asking yourself the correct questions. Like, I used to think, not why won't people refer me, but, or you might say that, but then you really say, how would people refer me?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do that would make it easy? They want to refer me, but it's not happening. Well, how do they feel when they refer me? Well, is there any content out about me? What does it look because everybody when you Google me, what does it say? And I remember thinking, I need to make sure people are proud to refer me, and to make it easy. Remind them of me all the time with content. I send a consistent message in who my client is and what my values are. So it makes it easy for them to think of
Yeah.
those people, and they're excited and proud to refer me and to be associated with it.
And have a clear message in the way that you communicate.
Yes.
Yeah. Clear message of how you communicate. I had just on the referral topic, I had recently been watching a video on YouTube, a guy named Sharon Srivatsa, who is a big guy from California.
Yeah.
Sold Telus property to Doug Selman. Really, really brilliant guy. Really, really, a very, very interesting history. For agents who don't know him, you should check him out for sure.
Give us it's not the business coach, is it, Sharon?
No, his company, Sharon. I'll send it to you so you have it. But he runs a company. He runs a company called Kingston Lane, and Kingston Lane has a bunch of courses online. Really, really interesting stuff. And I'll give a 30-second history so that it makes sense. He came in as an executive. He was coming from, I think, the private equity world, and he actually, through a company he was working for, bought into a small brokerage in California. Mm-hmm. And then once that happened, their management fell apart, and the company asked him to go in and take over. And he went in and basically built it to this big company. But what he acknowledged was, he said that the people who run these companies, they don't have face-to-face with clients, so they don't really know what's going on out there, right? Yeah. So how can you coach people? All of these coaches that don't get to that one-on-one experience with clients couldn't, so he started going out on pitches with all his agents, and he became really knowledgeable about how to communicate properly with clients, and he's this great script. But what I was going on beforehand was, he talks about, he'll go online and send a request. I have a referral for an agent in New York City, right? And who's interested? And he'll have 10 people, 15, 20, 50, 100 people message him, right? And he said, I did this as a test. I did that, and I wanted to see how people's response was going to be. He said, one person said, can I send you an email that you can forward to your client introducing me, right? Yeah. And he said, please do that. That's the person who got the referral, because he just made it easy for the person to refer him. So you have to think that way, is like, how do you make it easy for you to be the one that gets chosen in that conversation? And the way to do that is acknowledge that somebody who's referring you is doing you a disservice, and what can you give them? So if you sent all your clients a short video that said why you should refer me, or how could you refer me best, that they could just simply forward to people, you're going to get more referrals. It's that simple. And this is something I think about but haven't done. So,
just make it easy. Whatever, you just make things easier for people.
Yeah. Who am I? A video about who you are, and like write a short, concise thing that, I've been working on rebranding of our team, right? So that there's clear messaging happening. I think there's pretty clear messaging, but doing it in a way that's sort of.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if you've seen the bloopers of my testimonials. Have you seen that?
I have not, but.
Awesome. I mean, it's relevant to this because it's really funny. It was all these testimonials, and then my editor took all the parts that were edited out of the serious one and put it in another video.
That's
And
great.
it's really kind of funny because it's people just making jokes and
I'll check it out.
me being still, I don't even know where it was. Somebody who saw it, and I'll forward it to you. But anyway, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but that's it. So that's
Yeah.
there are ways. This guy did this video of like how you know I'm the wrong agent for you.
Oh, that's what I love that. That's how you know that's perfect. I'm
How
gonna
you
do
know I'm the
that.
wrong agent for you.
How
And
you know
like
I'm
it
the
was,
wrong agent. I'm
and it was.
gonna write that down. I mean,
I can find the video for you. Is great. And
please, if we can link it to this
yeah,
interview.
it's great. And what was really cool about the way that he did it was all very specific to his market. So it was like very dictated, like on like local restaurants. He said like, you know, stuff like, you know, you didn't find me getting or like I'm not the right agent for you if you'd be uncomfortable seeing me at the line at the donut spot or something like that, right? Like, or it was just, you know, I'm not the right agent for you if you expect me to show up every time wearing a tie and shirt and tie,
I love that.
right? Like,
but now I'm gonna do that, but everybody's gonna know I just stole it. Like
the amount of people that stole
it.
the amount of people that just stole it, there again,
That's
very
brilliant.
he's open, like loves sharing ideas with people so that they can do it. But it was so effective and impactful that he got a ton of business from it, and it's just unique and cute and
That's
shows
good.
his
I haven't seen the
personality.
video and I already love it. That's brilliant.
You're gonna love it even more after you see it because it's really funny, and a bunch of other people have done similar topics of it.
Where is he? What market's he in?
I don't remember, but it's like definitely a small. I think his company is called like Small Town Agency or something like that.
Oh, how cute.
It's Cameron. I'll send it to you.
We'll
I'll
find
make
it.
sure you have it. He's a really nice guy, and he's you know, I watch his videos and they're clear. They're his personality. He has all that stuff, so it's perfect.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay, so it's getting late.
Okay.
So you got your last question. What is, from this interview today, if there's anything we should remember, assuming we're just going to forget everything else, what is it?
I mean, I think it goes back to like really training yourself to reframe things and try and find positivity in everything, because I think we just knock ourselves down constantly. So, you know, I hate to say it, there's always a silver lining, and even if you're dealing with tough times, like it'll be over. And you know, there's always there's something to learn from it in every way. I mean, again, I think that's our mission in life, is just to find happiness. And you know, I think that's the way to do it. The best way to do it is there's another way to look at everything.
You choose, or what is it? The subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Yep.
You choose how to you choose what you care about.
It's true. You do.
And how you respond.
And how you hear it, and how you perceive it, and how far you take it.
Yeah, well said. Awesome.
True.
Well, thank you. Good
You're
to have
welcome.
you back on the show.
Thanks again for having me. I was like, when's number 4 coming?
We're gonna have to do it soon.